A new survey shows that people in our province want to see more funding for arts and culture. The Saskatchewan Arts Alliance released the survey yesterday. Most people believe arts and culture makes their communities better, though support drops in rural areas compared to cities. It comes at a time when provincial budget is set to be released in just a couple of weeks, March 18th. Am Ironstar is the executive director of the Saskatchewan Arts Alliance, and Am joins me now in studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what's prompted you to want to conduct the survey?
So the survey really originated out of a new strategic plan that we've developed at the Arts Alliance. And, really it's turned into this amazing tool that's going to allow us to understand how Saskatchewan people feel about arts and culture and public funding for that here in our province.
And what have you found through the survey?
Honestly, we've found overwhelming support. I think people in Saskatchewan really recognize that arts and culture are important and essential part of our life here. And they also recognize the role that government and public funding plays in that at all levels.
And so, the budget's coming up here, and a lot of times, we'll reflect on things that have maybe got more money, things that haven't received as much money, and the things that are maybe fluid. And when there's no increase, that is also a cut because things cost more, of course. How are you feeling heading into this budget, and what's the community telling you?
Yeah, so we really know that there's some tough decisions to be made by government in the coming weeks, and we know that those decisions aren't easy. But we also know that the arts community is telling us that they are in need of increased funding. Funding levels, particularly to our provincial funding agency, Sask Arts, have been flatlined for a number of years, 10 plus. And that's really resulted in some challenges for our artists and arts organizations and arts workers that are far-reaching.
And getting back to the survey, were you surprised by any of the results? Anything stand out to you?
I don't know if anything was a particular surprise. I think one of the things that honestly that took me back a little bit when I looked at the results was there was just such overwhelming support. I think like you mentioned in the intro, it does dip a little bit in rural areas. I thought maybe there would be the levels of support might be a little lower. It was also good to see some of those negative or kind of dissenting responses to some of the questions that we had. I think it really gives us an opportunity to see where some more public education might be needed about the importance and the value of the arts.
Give me an example of that.
I think there's people who obviously out there don't support the arts or don't support public funding of the arts, that's for sure. And I think, we have to be a lot more vocal about the benefits of the arts. We know that they support social well-being. They support vibrant cities, towns, communities. And they also have a massive economic impact. We know in Saskatchewan, arts and culture contributes $2.2 billion to our GDP. Those are from 2023 StatsCan numbers. And also over 20,000 jobs in our province. So when we're talking about arts and culture, we don't always think of it as a sector, and that's really what it is.
It is a large umbrella of things that fall under there. So are there sectors or parts within arts and culture that are getting more support from people or get more attention, from what you saw in the survey, or just in general?
Well, I think one thing that was interesting, it's all a bit of a matter of public education also around what are the arts? Mm-hmm. I think people might have some misconceptions when you think about that, but really from the moment we open our eyes to the time we go to bed at night, we're often immersed in the arts and creators and artists and artistic people and that work from, listening to the radio, turning on the TV, watching movies, hearing music, all that sort of thing. And so really, I think just making sure that people understand that it's all around us and we have a lot of great things to offer here in our province that need to be supported. And so I know you don't want to pick favorites, but what are some of the things in the province that maybe you'd like to highlight that people may not know about when you talk about that education piece? I think just understanding that I think even just talking about how many people do support the arts. I think sometimes we get in this interesting kind of binary between urban and rural in our province. It's kind of inevitable. But we have a really strong rural arts ecosystem here. It goes back many, many decades. We have a fantastic system of provincial arts councils that are kind of facilitated and run through the organization of Saskatchewan Arts Councils that see programming, touring, art, visual arts programs, music, concerts, all sorts of things like that go to all sorts of communities across the province. And so we have a lot of rural infrastructure, and that's really important to life here.
You mentioned the flatlining of funding. What would be something that's, any increase is probably welcome, but what would be something realistically that you think could be done by the government to help the arts sector?
Yeah, we've done the work and we've done the research, and basically what we've found is that an inflationary adjustment for the time period that it's been flatlined, which at this, at this point, it's looking at about around $6 million, which sounds pretty massive when you put it that way. But I think when you look at it in the context of the overall budget and what the arts community is able to do and the return on investment you get with that funding, I think it's a wise investment.
Em, I really appreciate you coming in and talking to us this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you.